Rule 601. Abuse of officials and other misconduct. Note: for the enforcement of this rule, the following guidelines shall apply. A bench minor penalty shall be assessed for actions that occur on or in the immediate vicinity of the player's bench, off the ice. A minor penalty or misconduct penalty should be assessed for actions that occur on the playing surface as or in the penalty bench area. A. A minor penalty for unsportsmanlike conduct shall be assessed to any player who commits the following actions: 1. Challenges or disputes the rulings of any official. 2. Taunts or incites an opponent. 3. Creates a disturbance during the game. 4. Shoots the puck after the whistle if, in the opinion of the official, such shot was avoidable. A misconduct penalty shall be assessed to any player who persists in such conduct, and any further dispute by the same player shall result in a game misconduct penalty being assessed. Note: if occurring after the game, the above action shall be initially penalized as a misconduct penalty. B. A bench minor penalty shall be assessed to any team whose players or team officials commit the following actions while on the player's bench: 1. Unsportsmanlike conduct or disputing the rulings of any official by an unidentified player or team official. 2. Using obscene, profane, or abusive language to any person. 3. Using the name of any official in a loud or abusive manner. 4. Throwing any object onto the playing area during the progress of the game or during a stoppage of play. 5. Banging the boards with a stick or other object, including skates or arms, after a body check, regardless as to whether the check is being penalized. It is deemed to be unsportsmanlike conduct and should be penalized when done as a means of escalating dangerous and or unnecessary physical play where there is no intent to legally gain possession of the puck. 6. Using threatening or abusive language or gestures directed at an opponent. 7. Interfering in any non-physical manner with any game official, including off-ice officials, in the performance of their duties. Note: if any of the above actions are committed by a player who is on the player's bench and is readily identifiable, they shall be assessed a misconduct penalty under subsection C of this rule. C. A misconduct penalty shall be assessed to any player who commits the following actions: 1. Persists in any conduct where they were previously assessed a minor penalty for unsportsmanlike conduct. 2. Using obscene, profane, or abusive language to any person anywhere in the rink before, during, or after the game. 3. Intentionally knocking or shooting the puck out of the reach of an official who is retrieving it during a stoppage of play. 4. Not proceeding directly and immediately to the penalty bench or to the dressing room after being penalized and ordered to do so by the officials. Equipment shall be delivered to them by a teammate, if necessary. 5. Entering or remaining in the referee's crease, unless invited to do so. 6. Interfering in any non-physical manner with any on-ice or off-ice official in the performance of their duties. 7. Touches or holds any official with their hand or stick. 8. Attempts to continue an altercation after being ordered to stop. 9. Intentionally bangs the boards or protective glass or goal frame with their stick or any other object at any time in an unsportsmanlike manner, when not done in protest of an official's decision. 10. Shoots or bats the puck outside of the playing area during a stoppage of play, when not done in protest of an official's decision or in the direction of a spectator. D. A game misconduct penalty shall be assessed to any player or team official who is guilty of the following actions: 1. Persists in any course of conduct for which they have previously been assessed a misconduct penalty, player, or a continuation of abuse of officials after being assessed a bench minor penalty, team official. If clearly done as a means of continued abuse, the game misconduct penalty may be assessed in lieu of a second bench minor when done after the initial bench minor has expired. 2. Uses an obscene gesture anywhere in the rink before, during, or after the game. 3. Bangs the boards, goal frame, or protective glass in protest of an official's decision. 4. Interferes in any physical manner with any on-ice or off-ice official in performing their duties including resisting the linesman during an altercation. 5. A player who receives their second misconduct penalty for any rule infraction during the same game shall be assessed a game misconduct penalty in lieu of the second misconduct penalty. 6. Physically interferes with a spectator. 7. Shoots or bats the puck outside of the playing area during a stoppage of play when done in protest of an official's decision. 8. Attempts to intimidate or physically contacts an on-ice or off-ice official by throwing a stick, water bottle, puck, or any other object in the general direction of a game official. 9. Shoots the puck in the general direction of an on-ice official or in the direction of a spectator during a stoppage of play. A match penalty shall be assessed to any player who shoots the puck directly at an official or spectator in a manner that recklessly endangers the official or spectator. E. A match penalty shall be assessed to any player or team official who commits the following actions. 1. Applies deliberate physical force or attempts to inflict physical harm to any game official, including off-ice officials. 2. Behaving in any manner that is critically detrimental to the conducting of the game, including but not limited to spitting at an opponent, spectator, game or team official, or verbally threatening or intimidating a game official, opposing team official, or opposing player with physical contact or harm. 3. Uses language that is hateful or discriminatory in nature anywhere in the rink before, during, or after the game. Note 1. The officials are required to immediately file a game report, and the offending player/team official is suspended until their case has been dealt with by the proper authorities. Appropriate discipline will be determined using the help with USA Hockey Standardized Discipline Policy. See preface. If the incident was reported to but not heard by the officials are required to notify the coach of the offending team and submit an incident report to the proper authorities immediately following the game outlining what was reported to them. Note 2. Any match penalty under this rule must be reported in writing by officials within 24 hours. A verbal report to the USA Hockey District Referee-in-Chief is required within 48 hours. Rule 601. Abuse of officials and other misconduct, a situation. 1. A player sitting on the player's bench uses profanity towards an official. If the official can recognize the player using this language, may they assess a misconduct penalty rather than a bench minor? Yes. Rule references 601 note, 601b note, and 601c2. The officials shall assess a misconduct to a player if the player can be readily recognized. If the official cannot determine the identity of the player, they must impose a bench minor on the team. This interpretation only applies to players on the player's bench or penalty bench, a situation. 2. A player is assessed a minor penalty for tripping and does not proceed immediately to the penalty bench while disputing the call. Should any additional penalty be called? Yes. In addition to the original tripping penalty, the player must be assessed a minor penalty for unsportsmanlike conduct. Rule reference 601A.1, the misconduct penalty, 601C4, for failure to proceed directly and immediately to the penalty bench applies in all other situations. In this instance, the fact the player is challenging or disputing the ruling of the referee calls for the unsportsmanlike minor penalty to be assessed. A situation 3. What is the proper sequence of penalties to be assessed to a player who continues to verbally abuse an official or who persists in disputing a call? Minor, misconduct, game misconduct, warning to the captain, bench, minor, penalty. Rule references 601A1, C1, and D1, and 633A. This sequence must be followed in every instance, as the rules are clear that a match penalty is not an option in this situation. Once the abuse of officials' progression has been exercised, the proper sequence is shifted to refusing to start play. A situation 4. At a stoppage of play, two players are circling each other and trying to incite the other into getting a penalty. The referee deems that penalties are warranted. Taunting. What penalties, if any, shall be assessed? Minor penalties for unsportsmanlike conduct shall be assessed to each player. Rule reference 60102. A situation 5. There are many different things that can be said that various people may find offensive. What judgment should an official use in assessing a penalty? Preferably good judgment that holds players, coaches accountable for these types of actions. Rule references 601, 82, B as 1, C2, and E3. There is no easy answer as individual people deem different things to be offensive. Most people will know an obscene gesture when they see it, or hateful or discriminatory language when heard. These situations must be penalized according to the rule. There are certainly other areas where offensive language may also be used and should be appropriately penalized. Officials are reminded that other penalties exist for these types of actions, including unsportsmanlike conduct, taunting or inciting an opponent, or bench minor misconduct for obscene, profane, or abusive language. In each instance, the official should use their best judgment in assessing the proper penalty, and if in doubt, assess the proper penalty and report the actions to the proper authorities to review under supplementary discipline. Situation 6, the head coach is assessed a bench minor penalty for improper conduct during the first period. During the second period, the coach again exhibits improper conduct. Is the coach assessed a game misconduct because the improper conduct has been repeated? Yes, if is clearly a continuation of the abuse after being assessed a bench minor penalty. Rule reference 601, B201, and D1. The spirit and intent of the rule is to treat each incident separately. If the coach is assessed a bench minor penalty, they would only be assessed a game misconduct penalty provided they continue their actions regarding this incident. This would also apply in cases where one coach receives the bench minor and different coach continues the abuse. If the coach refrains from continuing their behavior and then engages in improper conduct later regarding a separate incident, they should be assessed another bench minor penalty to start the sequence over. New. Situation 7. What is the rationale behind USA Hockey's rule that requires a bench minor penalty to be assessed to a team for banging the boards on the bench to penalize unsportsmanlike conduct that is designed to incite, intimidate, or escalate dangerous actions? Rule reference 601b5. The spirit and intent of this rule has never been to penalize a team for celebrating a good play, such as a save by the goalkeeper, a blocked shot, or goal scored. However, when this action is done in a manner that celebrates a body check that is meant to punish or intimidate an opponent, and there has been no effort to legally play the puck, it is done so in an unsportsmanlike manner. This action tends to only escalate additional dangerous play and must be penalized. Although delivering a legal body check where the focus is on winning possession of the puck is also considered a good play, it is no more worthy of excessive celebration than making a good poke check to win the puck and then delivering a torpedo tape outlet pass. A situation 8. A coach verbally abuses an official on the way to the dressing room at the end of a period. What is the sequence of penalties assessed to the coach? A bench minor penalty followed by a game misconduct. Penalty if the abuse continues. Rule references 601, B1, and D1. Just as if it was during play, the proper sequence of penalties as outlined in the rules must be followed by the referee. Rule 633, refusing to start play would kick in if the situation were to persist at the start of the next period. Situation 9. What penalty is imposed on a player who collides with a linesman and verbally abuses them for being in the way with no reference made to a previous decision? A misconduct penalty. Rule. Reference 601C2. Since the player was not disputing a ruling, the verbal abuse falls under the misconduct rule. A situation 10. A player verbally abuses an official on the way to the dressing room at the end of a period or the end of the game. What is the sequence of penalties assessed to the player? A misconduct penalty followed by a game misconduct penalty if the abuse continues. Rule references 601C2 and D1. Just as if it was during play, the proper sequence of penalties as outlined in the rules must be followed by the referee. Situation 11. What is the purpose of the referee's crease? To provide an area where on ice and off ice officials can converse with each other without player interference. Rule references 601C5 and 104F. According to Rule 601C5, a player could be assessed a misconduct penalty for entering the referee's crease during such a discussion. Under normal circumstances, a player would be asked to leave the crease before being assessed the misconduct penalty. At situation 12, a player on the ice makes physical contact with an official following a decision made by that official. What penalty or penalties shall be assessed? A misconduct, game misconduct or match penalty depending on the severity of the offense. Rule references 601C7D4 and Evil 1. The officials must be able to distinguish between the severity of the contact and the intent of the player in order to assess the appropriate penalty. Simply touching an official does not constitute a physical assault, calling for a match penalty. A situation 13. A player on the player's bench interferes with a linesman. The linesman does not have. Situation 15. A goalkeeper or player bangs their stick on the glass at the goal judge after a disputed goal. What penalty must be assessed? A minor penalty for unsportsmanlike conduct, plus a misconduct or game misconduct penalty. Rule reference 601, C29, and D3. The goal judge is considered part of the officiating team, so any protest directed at them would be penalized in the normal manner. As Situation 16, Team A's head coach is assessed a bench minor penalty for abuse of officials. While that penalty is still being served, the assistant coach now starts verbally abusing the referee. What penalty should the referee assess? Game misconduct penalty. Rule reference 601, Do 1. Provided the abuse is a continuation of the original action causing the bench minor penalty to be assessed, the game misconduct shall be assessed even though it is a different team official. This helps avoid the situation where two or more team officials work together to continue their inappropriate behavior without consequence greater than a bench minor penalty. This is only applied when the abuse is a continuation of the original penalty. If the second team official engages in improper conduct several minutes later in response to a different situation, then the referee must assess another bench minor penalty to start the penalty progression over. A situation 17. What judgment should an official use in assessing a game misconduct penalty for an obscene gesture? If the official sees an obscene gesture, the game misconduct penalty must be assessed. Rule reference 601D2. There is no place in the game for this type of action, and the officials must strictly enforce this rule. A situation 18. What judgment should an official use in assessing a match penalty for a player or coach using language that is deemed to be hateful or discriminatory in nature? If the official hears a comment that they deem to be hateful or discriminatory directed at anyone in the rink at any time, the match penalty must be assessed. Rule reference 601E3. There is no place in the game for this type of action, and the officials must strictly enforce this rule. Although there is no easy criteria to establish the type of language that falls into the hateful or discriminatory category, the officials must use their best judgment as to the spirit and intent of the language that is used, and if it is deemed to have in any way been hateful or discriminatory in nature, the match penalty must be assessed. Situation 19. A player directs discriminatory or hateful comments or actions towards an opponent, which the referee does not hear. The non-offending team brings it to the referee's attention. May the referee assess the prescribed match penalty based on the reported incident? No. While these situations threaten the integrity of the game, the actual incident must be heard and or seen by an on-ice official in order to assess the match penalty. Rule reference 601 EPEM 3. The referee should report the incident to the coach or captain of the team allegedly using the offensive comments or actions and advise the team of the required penalty if such comments or actions are subsequently heard or seen. At the same stoppage, the referee should similarly advise the team reporting the incident. In addition, the referee is required to submit an incident report through the game reporting system to notify the proper authorities of the incident. A situation 20, a player of Team A reaches into the timekeeper's bench and turns off the time clock. What penalty is assessed? A game misconduct penalty shall be assessed. Rule reference 601 D4. This would be considered physically interfering with an office official in performing their duties. A situation 21, while play is in progress or during a stoppage of play, a team official grabs an on-ice official to inquire about a situation. What penalty shall be assessed? A game misconduct should be assessed. Rule reference 601C7. Unless the official deems the intent was to inflict physical harm, in which case a match penalty would be appropriate. In many instances, the team official is attempting to grab the official's attention and does not intend to harm the official. In this scenario, the game misconduct penalty is proper. A situation 22. A player on the penalty bench grabs or assaults the timekeeper. What penalty is assessed? A game misconduct or match penalty is assessed, depending on the severity of the offense. Rule references 601D4 and E1. If an assault occurs, the match penalty must be assessed. The same rule applies for all officials, regardless of whether they are on ice or off ice officials. As Situation 23, if a player bites a linesman who is attempting to break up an altercation, should the player be assessed a match penalty? Yes. Rule reference 601 E1. This action would potentially be deemed as a physical assault on an official. As Situation 24. The referee hears a coach instructing their player to get an opponent, interpreted as intentionally fouling the opponent for purposes of intimidation or physical harm. May the referee assess a match penalty? Yes. Rule references 601E2. This may be interpreted as threatening the opponent, even though there is no threat made directly to the opponent. Note that this applies only if directed toward an opponent. There is no provision under this rule for a coach who threatens their own player. In either case, a written report to the proper authorities is a must.